Ladies and gentlemen, the play's the thing. With your host, Judy Sleed. Today's guest, Anthony Rizzuto, Clinical Coordinator of Power and Control Program, Provider Relations Representative, Seafield Center of Westhampton Beach. Now here's Judy.
Hello, I guess I didn't hear the introduction, but I'm sure it was there. Okay, I have Anthony as my guest today. I'm so happy you could come.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And I don't think I had anybody on my show with your credentials. But it's a very important one. You have such a long title, so I don't even know how to introduce you. But you could tell us.
Sure.
What you do.
I have two main positions with Seafield. My main position is I'm the Provider Relations Representative in Nassau County and Suffolk County, which pretty much has me going out and meeting with different referral sources, the courts, the hospitals, going out and meeting different agencies, letting people know about what Seafield can provide, what services we
Yes,
provide.
well, that's what I was going to ask. Seafield is
Right.
a facility for
Substance
people,
abuse treatment.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, at Seafield, we have inpatient substance abuse treatment out here in Westhampton Beach. And then we have 5 outpatient facilities located in Riverhead, Medford, Patchogue, Amityville, and Mineola. And then we also have approximately 17 recovery homes, which are all throughout Long Island to help support people that are in treatment, that are trying to get their life together, who perhaps need a safe environment with which to be able to live.
That's really great because I know a lot of people who who are, substance abuse, but like you said, that alone is not enough to treat the drink. You need other things like depression and some other things. You need a whole body has to be treated.
Yeah, we use what we call a biopsychosocial. So you need to address the whole person.
Yes.
It's not just about addressing the drinking or the abuse of the drugs. In many cases, we will find that the drinking or the drugging is a symptom of the problem. And when a person stops drinking or drugging, a lot of times you will be able to see what's underneath. Sometimes it could be a traumatic experience that happened during childhood. Sometimes it could be a person suffering from depression or anxiety or bipolar or some form of mental health concern. There are many reasons why people turn to drugs and alcohol, and there's also a genetic component. There's 2 parts to it. There's an environmental component and there's a genetic component. And we know that if a person has a parent that suffers from the disease of addiction or alcoholism, that there is a higher likelihood. It doesn't mean that they necessarily will be, but it means that they have a higher propensity to have a problem with drugs or alcohol. So at Seafield, we can provide a whole continuum of care from inpatient setting, outpatient setting, detox, sober residents, to be able to support them through this transition in their life.
That's very wonderful. So many questions around in my head.
Sure.
And but first, I would like to know where you're from.
I live in Nassau County, and I've been working with Seafield for 10 years now. In July, it'll be 10 years. Wow. My path was an interesting one. I was in business for myself for many years, about 23 years, and I would help people personally that had a problem with drugs or alcohol while I had my businesses. And one day, a wife of one of the men that I helped said, "I just want to say thank you for giving me my husband back."
Oh.
And then shortly after that, her daughter came in and said, "Thank you for giving me my daddy back." And that was very touching. And it kind of planted a seed, but I let it go. And then within a short period of time, some other girlfriends or wives of other people that I was helping had asked me, did you ever think of becoming a counselor? And I said, counselor? They don't make any money. And, and I let it go, but I kept hearing it again and again. And at that particular time in my life, I was going through a spiritual awakening. And I had said to myself, if God was going to send me a sign, what more do I want? I have all these people are telling me the same thing, and they don't know each other. So I ended up calling a couple of friends that worked in the field, and I said, if I was going to become a counselor, how do you do that? They said, well, you should become a KSAC, which is a credentialed alcohol and substance abuse counselor. And how do you do that? You go to school, and what school? OTI, Outreach Training Institute. So I called up my other friend, and he gave me the same advice. So I called him up and enrolled in school, and as I neared the end, I put my store up for sale. In 1 week, I had 7 buyers.
Oh my God, what kind of store was it?
I was in the pizza business.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And I was able to transition into the field, and it was tough because I have a wife and I have 2 children. And, you know, it's not the highest paying field when you initially come in. You know, it's tough. But I worked 2 jobs. I worked a full-time job and a part-time job, plus my wife worked. So we were able to get by in the beginning. And then I just continued to grow in my education. I was trained in doing domestic violence work, working in particular with men who are abusive towards their partners. And these men have a drug and alcohol problem. So I had gotten that training, which opened up some additional opportunities for me.
How long did it take you to go to school?
For the substance abuse, it was 1 year to be able to get the initial hours to take the test. And then for the domestic violence, it was close to a year. It was spread out, but it was close to a year in total between the sessions with the psychologist who did the initial training, and then it was approximately 16 weeks of clinical experiential training. And then from there, I started to facilitate.
But you probably knew some of that already because you helped so many people.
Well, helping the people I was helping was not in domestic violence. The people that I was helping was strictly drug and alcohol, people who struggle with drug and alcohol addiction.
Yeah, but I imagine that you helped them psychologically also.
To the best of my ability. I didn't have an education. I didn't have a training. I had my own life experiences.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, that's sometimes the most important, your own experience.
Absolutely.
Well, that's what they do in AA also. You share your experience.
Yep.
So I'm just wondering where you get all this talent. Any of your parents?
No, actually, I was first born in this country. Both of my parents are from Italy. My story was, again, a unique one where my father came here 2 years before I was born. So although I was born in this country, I went to first grade and couldn't speak English because at home all they spoke was Italian.
Yeah.
We all stayed together. This was back in the 60s, in the early 60s. But then once I went to school, I learned right away. And you know, through that, I'm blessed to be able to speak 3 languages. I speak Italian fluently and I speak Spanish fluently, which has helped me sometimes provide.
Of course, there's a lot of Spanish-speaking people here.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but my parents, neither one of them are in this field. They're both, my dad worked as a mechanic for many years, and then we were in business together. And my mother worked as a seamstress for many, many years.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Great. So you still make pizza at home?
No, my wife's taken over those duties. My wife has taken it. My son was just asking me the other day, how come you don't make pizza home? But it's different because, you know, the dough that I used to make, the flour that I used was different. The pizza oven is different.
Well, of course, that was professional size.
Sure, exactly. But it's been interesting.
It is amazing how you change careers in your adult life. I mean, you are all set in one, you had a pizza, and then all of a sudden you just changed. How did your wife feel about it when you made that change?
You know, Judy, I get asked this question many times, and the only thing I can say is it's something bigger than me, because at the age of 40, to make that kind of shift
Yeah.
And to go from being your own boss for 23 years, having over 100 employees over those years, to going to work for somebody else and making at the beginning it was very, very low pay, but there was a passion. There was something greater than me that was pulling me in that direction. And as far as my wife is concerned, I'm blessed. I'm blessed because I have a beautiful, understanding wife. My wife was the first one that was very supportive of it. And I can't say that a lot of people would be able to support that because, we have living in Long Island, it's very tough,
Yes.
So I work 2 jobs, she works full time, both of our kids are enrolled in school, so we pay for school. So it's been a struggle, but it was all worth it. I think that when you go through this life, initially, the goal is how much money can I make, how big a house can I get, what kind of car will I drive, and then there comes a point where, at least for me, the thinking started to shift, where I didn't know, why did my Creator put me here? And I don't believe it was to see how big a house I can get. I believe that my time on this earth was for a reason. There's a purpose. And if we can use our time that we have here to be of service to others, I think that aligns my thinking with what my Creator might want.
I love the way you think. It makes so much sense. And you say you work 2 jobs. Even today you work 2 jobs?
3 jobs. Yeah, I'm in school also. I do work. I have 2 positions with Seafield. And then, so one of my positions is the one I mentioned about provider relations. And I'm also the program supervisor for our domestic violence program. Mm-hmm. So I oversee the clinicians that provide services for men that are abusive. So that's a second position. And then I also do some work in Brooklyn for another agency that I provide direct services for men that are abusive in domestic violence. And in school, right now I'm going for my master's in social work at Adelphi University. So I have a couple of balls that I'm juggling.
Wow.
Yeah.
And is that a course you take that's going to end soon, or how long is the course?
It's a 3-year program. I will be starting the summer classes on Tuesday. And once the summer session finishes, I will have completed my first year. And then I'll have 2
Where
more
will
years.
that take you?
Ultimately, I'll have, God willing, I'll have an MSW, which is a Master's in Social Work. And then I'll look to take my test to become licensed, so to get an LMSW. And then I will get the experience for 3 years and then attempt to become an LCSW. And who knows? I don't know where the future brings me, but maybe teaching might be something I might do on the side. It's something that it's always interested me. I do a lot of speaking at universities and public speaking. So if that's where I'm supposed to be, that's where I'll be.
What about your children? How old are they?
My son is 18. He's graduating from Chaminade.
From where?
Chaminade High School. It's a all-boys school in Mineola.
Oh,
yeah, it's the Marianist Society. Yeah, and my daughter is 15 years old, and she attends Kellenberg High School.
So you don't look old enough to have such grown children.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, no, I've been very lucky. My children have, they've played sports and they've done really well in school. And as a parent, all you can ask for first the ability to have children. There are a lot of people that unfortunately don't have the ability to have children. Secondly, the fact that they're healthy. I've been very, very lucky. I've been married now for 24 years. I've been married. And, I really think it starts with the role models. My parents are married 50 years. Her parents are married 50 years. So I think that we were blessed to have good role models. And my wife and I try to, use that same model with our children to role model, what family is about. We're a very close family. We spend all of our holidays together with my sisters and parents and uncles and aunts. We're a very, very tight family.
That is good to hear.
Yes.
That is good to, it's very rare.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, very rare.
I think, you know, a lot of times when I go out and speak, people will ask me, why do you think we have all these problems with drugs and with alcohol and with domestic violence? And, you know, just my own opinion. If I had to put my finger on one thing, because I can cite about 20 things that I think, but if I had to just simplify it, it's a breakdown of family and a breakdown of faith. That's my belief. Where there's a breakdown of family and there's a breakdown of faith, there's no rules, there's no morals, there's no, we are bombarded with information every day through the TV, through the internet, and you look at some of the messages that kids get from music, from TV, from internet, and if there isn't somebody there to kind of guide them, it would be very easy to be guided in the wrong direction. So you take that and figure two parents working who aren't home necessarily to do the supervision, if there are two parents.
Yeah.
Because in a lot of homes there is one parent now. So I think that if I had to put my finger on something, I think that would be one of the biggest things. And you know, I remember when I was growing up, TV was very different. There was limitations on what they can show and what they couldn't show. And today, it's just...
It's not only the TV, but the songs, the lyrics are just, oh, I mean, I can't listen to them. I get turned off.
Right, absolutely.
And the kids have they have that Facebook. Sometimes I look at it and I can't believe what children are writing on Facebook.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
The innocence is gone. I was watching a show one time with my daughter. I think it was Shirley Temple or something. And, you know, afterwards, she said, wow, things were so simple.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that today, you know, kids are growing up a lot quicker. I think that they're experimenting with things. They're exposed to so much. And it's tough. Trying to raise your kids in an environment like this is very tough. Even if you try to do the right thing, you know, it's tough when the environment around them, you know, feeds them something different.
So the question came to my mind when you're talking about all the things that you do at the Seafield, how you take the whole person and like the alcohol or the drug is just an underlying thing of the real problem. How familiar are the doctors about that?
Well, I won't use a brush to paint all doctors because I think that there are doctors that are very knowledgeable about addictions, and then there are doctors that aren't knowledgeable about addictions. So for doctors who have a specialty in addictions, they understand, you know, how the brain works and how the dopamine levels and serotonin levels are affected by medications. And but then there are doctors that aren't as aware of this. We had a problem. We have a problem currently on Long Island with the abuse of painkillers, of prescription drugs. So, you know, here we are having this huge, huge increase in the amount of young people using painkillers. And, you know, what we've identified is that a lot of them would get access to these painkillers in the medicine cabinets. So, for instance, a gentleman I know went for a root canal, and the doctor gave him a script for 120 Percocet. That, to me, is absurd.
120 pieces?
120 Percocet, which are very strong painkillers. They're a narcotic. And to think that the average person might use them for a couple of days, which means that probably 100+ pills will be left in the medicine cabinet.
Yeah.
And what happens is sometimes kids will go into the medicine cabinet, and if not the kids, sometimes they invite their friends over, and the friends will go into the medicine cabinet. So they will try them, or they will sell them, and in some cases they get addicted to them, and then they have no more, and it's too expensive to get more, and sometimes they'll go over to heroin because heroin is less expensive. So back to the original question, I think that doctors, not all doctors are knowledgeable, and I think doctors need to be educated. And there has been a lot of work done. There is a lot of movement being done on educating doctors on the risks of overprescribing and what they're prescribing, because they have a responsibility to treat a person's pain as well. So they're in between the two.
I think, in my experience with the doctors out here, they are scared to prescribe what they call what do you call it? You know, when something is addictive.
Oh, narcotic. A narcotic?
Yeah, they are so scared of giving prescription, even for a person who really needs it. Right. I don't want to lose my license. They are so scared.
Because we went from here, where it was very, very easy to get a prescription. And now that, you know, all of this has happened, the pendulum has swung.
Yes.
And now, in some cases, it's very hard to get it. And I think, you know, really it needs to be on a case-by-case basis.
Right. But if
you have a patient that you know, let's say, for instance, you have a doctor that has known you for 15 years.
Right.
You have never gotten a painkiller from him. No. You shovel your snow, or you hurt yourself, or you have a root canal done.
Yeah.
It might be appropriate, maybe. It might be appropriate. But he would give you a limited amount.
Right.
And then you would go back, and he can handle it that way.
Well, it's just like you said. It's either one extreme or the other. Right. That's why I ask you if the doctors are aware of you know, of what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're treating the whole person, because I think that they just look at everybody that they are a drug addict.
Well, there's also one of the other problems is that insurance reimbursement sometime. A lot of doctors today, they have 15 minutes with a patient.
Yeah, yeah.
And they have 15 minutes with a patient, and, you know, like I heard one doctor say, you know, if a person comes into me and I talk to them for 30 minutes and tell them to take aspirin, I'm no good as a doctor in their mind. But if I have another patient that comes into me, I talk to them for 5 minutes and I give them a prescription, I'm great. He said, so you know, and society really has kind of moved towards taking a pill for everything.
Right. Everything is a take a pill, take a pill.
And even if you think about in terms of the TV, you never used to see all these commercials for antidepressant medication, sleeping medication. There is a pill for everything. If you don't want to feel this way, take this. If you don't want to feel this way, take this. And it's become a problem because people are not used to working through perhaps some you know, like for instance, you know, sometimes someone in my family might not be able to sleep. They'll make themselves a cup of tea, a cup of chamomile tea. You know, but there are others that, you know, will be asked to take a sleeping pill. And, you know, and I know that there is a lot of stressors that we go through on a daily basis.
Yes.
That people struggle sometimes to go to sleep because we're always running and running and running and running. But I think there's a healthier way to address that than to take a pill, because the pill works, but we never address the problem.
Right. And also what came to mind is that when you're a doctor, you take an oath. I have an accent. Was it a hypocritical?
Yes, a hippo, right.
Yeah. I don't think that applies anymore.
I mean, look, my experience with doctors, I've seen some great doctors, and I don't think that in the majority of the cases my experience is doctors are good intentioned. They want to do the right thing. They do the right thing. And I think that we have come across some doctors who have not been so ethical. But I don't want to put everybody in the same bag,
never
because
do.
my experience with doctors has been a real positive one. But there have been some doctors who have been arrested for illegally prescribing medication.
Oh, yes.
But there's been, train conductors that have been arrested. So we don't want to say all train conductors.
No, I'm not saying all of them.
Right.
But some are, because in
Absolutely.
my experience, it's very easy. So, oh, I can't go to the emergency room. That's always, go to the emergency room.
Right.
And that's not right either.
Right.
So there's a lot to be discussed with.
Right. I remember the little black bag when they'd come to your house.
Yeah, that's no longer.
It was a personal touch. There was a personal care. I had a friend of mine who was a dentist, and he told me, he said, I no longer take insurance, because if I'm going to take insurance, I have to put 4 chairs, and I have to be 5 minutes with you,
Yes.
5 minutes with them. I can't be with you for 20 minutes
Right.
and give you the care that I normally give you, because the reimbursement is very low, and they need to have this volume of constantly going in. So
Oh,
there's
I
some
just remembered
struggles.
that. I couldn't think of the word before. It is a controlled substance.
Yes,
A
yes,
controlled
yes.
substance.
Yes.
Well, I'm so happy you came to talk to me.
Thank you.
And you let the public know all about what you do, which I think it's fantastic.
Thank you. I
So,
appreciate it.
do you advertise and tell people to come to Seafield, or how do they know about you?
Seafield sometimes will do TV ads, and also we've been established now for about 26 years, and I think probably our best advertising is word of mouth. Somebody who's come there, or so let's say, for instance, John Doe comes there. John Doe lets others know, as well as his family members, because we believe in the disease of addiction as a family disease. So we do.
Okay, you're going to be cut off. We just come to the end of the show.
Sure.
And I want to thank all my underwriters and everybody who helped create this show.
Thank you for having me, Judy. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, it's still fast, huh? Didn't it? I have so many questions. Because I was thinking of, I went to send my son over. We have no insurance. Sometimes I said, oh, he doesn't need that. He needs, but I think what you said is, he's very depressed.